Did you guys ever figure out why there seems to be like one of them in each of our lives? Like I can walk up and down the street, and like most of you guys are like holding hands with one of them, at the very least, sometimes. And so how does that happen? Like, you can't have like no one's gonna allow a black person into their life, right? Like most people are like, hell no, dude. And it'll be like some of the like people you don't even think. Like they're not wearing hoods, they're not looking like hillbillies. They're just looking like average non-black people. And they don't know any black people. There's no black people in their lives. But how come there's one of them and like everyone? Maybe it's because of me. Maybe I said it and I've invented the world around me, right? Ooh. Wait for them to tell you I'm God and I invented it. I mean, I'm waiting for them to like come out in the open and say that too, as well. Like come out in the open and say it. Don't just say it behind closed doors. But why is that? Why is there like one in our lives? And it's like, also I look at my life and it's like, were those people encouraging me to be fucked up? Or was it I was just being fucked up and they were just happened to be around so they participated in it? And it's like, it seems like, I mean, we can look at Hollywood, right? They're encouraging certain things. They're encouraging like the transgender and the rainbow flag, changing the rainbow flag meaning from one thing to the other. Not that they didn't invent the first rainbow flag meaning. And they probably, use those as excuses to call off the humans in the past. They're like, oh, God did it. And it's like, oh, it's not you, that's for sure. And it's not you writing the book saying God did it and inventing the word scapegoat and then scapegoating God for what you do. But why is that? How come when I walk down the street, I see so many of them with other people and stuff? Why is that? Why does that happen? How does that happen? Why? I remember the first girl I actually liked. Now, the first girl I was with looked like one of them when I was like 14. I think she was like 16 or 18 or something like that. I remember thinking she was an adult, but it could have been because I was 14 and she was old enough to drive. Although I started driving at 15, right? I remember the first girl I was with, like when we broke up and she tried to get back with me. The first girl I liked, maybe one of the only girls I liked. Maybe the only one I was compatible with, I should say that. The only one I tested long enough that I was probably compatible with, and wouldn't have told me no in my life. Anyways, that person broke up with me, and then they wanted to get back with me. I didn't understand that type of stuff, so I didn't really pay any attention to it. Like she wanted to hang out again, and I didn't realize she wants to get back with me. Like she likes me. It's like you broke up with me. Like get lost. I'm moving on. And I should have kept that attitude throughout my life because every time someone broke up with me, I just wasted. Like sometimes someone left. Like I had one person, this Laura Dunham person left and didn't say she wasn't coming back. And the next day after she left and I never seen her again, this other awesome ass, young, successful blonde who I knew started talking to me and stuff. And it was I was all upset and sad. And it's so I should have terminated that relationship just like I did the other one the second I was told it's terminated. In fact, that works very well. When you terminate a relationship, when the other person says it's terminated, they get they want you. All of a sudden you're this person who doesn't need them and they like that. These are psycho. I mean, not blame them. Let's blame God for inventing psychopaths like this. I can't blame a squirrel for collecting nuts. And I can't blame an ant for collecting pieces of dirt and bringing dirt into my house. So, there's something else to blame for the psycho. But anyways, the person tried to get back with me, and her friend just happened to look like one of these people. And that friend, interjected between me and her and was, hitting on me. And so she'd already terminated the relationship between us. So when her friend started hitting on me, I was like, hey, look, it's an opportunity to have another relationship. And, I could tell right away when I started, hitting back on her that, the other person, my ex, was I could kind of tell right then that, oh, wait a minute, this meeting was about something else, wasn't it? Because she, was a little bit jealous. But that person had, got in the way of our little interaction there. And, successfally broke it up because that girl never really wanted to talk to me about stuff like that again. And it's probably, I think she actually said something about you hit on my friend. And it's no, your friend hit on me. And I didn't know. Anyways, don't play games with me. Don't break up with me and think you're coming back because, once it's already set in stone, it's already set. But that happened, and then I've seen that so many times. So one of these, and she's with one of them now too. She now has a kid with one of them, and so many other people do too. And it's sometimes it looks like the only way to escape these people is to hire a security crew to surround you at all times, and just have them punch and push anyone who gets within 18 feet of you. Seriously. And I'm thinking 18 feet, they can still yell and wave and signal from 18 feet. You need a 6 million foot social distancing, I think, to successfully keep these things out of our lives. And how is it? How is it? They claim they're 2% of the population, but there's one for every 3 of us, and one for every one of us. It looks they're totally lying scumbags. So that you can tell their motives are not good because they're lying and they're hiding and they're being deceptive. So their motives are not positive. Good people don't hide in the shadows and blah blah blah. And Jeffrey Epstein didn't hide in the shadows because he's the good one. He's the king of them. He's their king. Right? The Rothschild probably don't hide in the shadows because, he is their king, but, Epstein is their king. Jesus, Epstein, Rothschild, those are their kings. Literally, Epstein was above Netanyahu there on the ladder as far as, he had the whole world blackmailed. He's not dead. That's the point of Epstein's job, was he's never going to get killed. And anyone around him is going to be manipulated into anything they want them to do. That's the point of having child sex blackmail taped on world leaders, is to, anything you want, you can do. Hell, that's what I've turned some of my information into. It's just well, I've got this stuff I haven't released. Let's not go too far with what we're going to do towards me and stuff. And we won't go too far on the opposite spectrum, maybe. And if it goes that way, then it has to go that way, right? And if it goes one way, then it's got to go the other way as well. So, that's just the way it is, and that's the way it will be. There'll be people in my life yeah, we know you have this and that, we need that now. And all sorts. It won't even be up to me at some point if things go sour. But yeah, why is this? And there's so many around, so many in my life, and many times it has been situations where I've been around other people who didn't look like them, and then they came and interjected and things shifted, so I wasn't around them anymore, stuff like that. And I try to look at things positive once I started to see all this. But it's like, no, you're not hiding in the shadows because it's positive. Positivity doesn't hide in the shadows. You know, good things don't hide in the shadows. They don't have to lurk about and play games and manipulate. And if you're intelligent, you would understand that the end of that road is, you know, assuming the worst. And just how negative that could be for the end of the road. Who cares about who cares about the people under the spell and brainwashed? Like, it's like the people smart enough to see through it. They're like the ones who would be important to raise up and not squash and not like turn into like fucking vicious hunters. But like how does that work? How come no one else is like talking about this stuff? Like they do sometimes, and then like you really can't talk about it, like because if you say anything you get banned. But everyone else who talks about it, like the neo-Nazis and the alt-right and blah blah blah, they get banned. Like I guess there's some liberals who talked about that stuff too, like to Bernie Sanders, and of course like they're talking to Bernie Sanders. So I think the dude knew. He still talked to Bernie Sanders about it, some black dude. And Bernie Sanders was like, no, it's not the Zionists and stuff. It's like, oh, it's not. That's why you're up there on stage running for president, because it's not you, it's someone else. Oh, you're wearing a face mask. It's not you, Bernie Sanders. It's Satan. It's Satan. Satan made him do it. Satan made Epstein do it. Satan made Bernie Sanders do it. Satan made Jared Kushner do it. So, you know, it's a good scapegoat, isn't it? Satan made me do it. Satan did it. It was Satan. It was the bad one. And Jesus said, forgive us. Jesus, he's good. He's so good. I'm with Jesus now. I'm not with Satan. So everything we've done, we can just keep being in control, but we're sorry about being in control of the past. But we're going to keep being in control now because we're with Jesus and we're better people now. And, yeah, no, it doesn't change. It doesn't change. I haven't seen it change. I've seen it change for the worse. You got Fauci. Dr. Fauci looks like one. Yeah, the head of the FDA, which is like claiming Gottlieb. What is it, Scott? It's Gottlieb. And he's one of them. And they attacked the FBI director. Trump attacked the FBI director, and it's weird. He mentioned them once, but they all mentioned themselves once. So that one time, like the Bible mentions them once and stuff, and it's like, well, who wrote the frickin' Bible? Like, other than that, every word in the Bible is praising them to a large extent. And so you have Fauci as the lead of FDA. I mean, I don't need to look into Fauci's background. You just look at Fauci's face and you're like, oh, yeah, obviously. He looks like Howard Stern with a haircut. Like pretty much everyone allowed to talk about this stuff on some level. It took like a year for them to disallow censorship for certain media outlets to talk about some of this 2020 stuff. Like, it's just recently they've allowed themselves to talk, to give an opposing viewpoint to some of this stuff. And it's them anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? This is how controlled opposition works. And the whole plan probably is to bring out this whole little thing, restructure society, and then bring out opposition to it to rebel against it and squash a large portion of it, and then retain, the vital components of the restructuring of society that was just done. But that's how communism worked. Like, they brought in the Bolsheviks and they killed everyone off all the Bolsheviks are evil, so we got to kill them off. So they brought in Stalin, and then Stalin's a good guy because he killed off the evil liberals who were killing everyone off. And at the end of the day, it's like they were working together to set that up. Yuri Beltranov, is that how his name's pronounced? He worked for the KGB. He talks about that's how they set up revolutions, is they bring in rebellion groups for change, and then that happens, and change happens, and then they bring in a group to squash that group. And then that's like the real goal is the second group. And I suppose these days, like, they're a little bit ahead of that, because they didn't used to have 3 presidential candidates, and now they have like 7. Like in the election before it, they had like 7 candidates, and they were all like of the same bloodlines. And so I could just assume Biden is, his name's Joseph, so we're going to assume that a word from the Bible, a name from the Bible, is a name of one of theirs. But he is on stage saying stuff like, I'm not allowed to say certain things. I'm not supposed to be having this meeting. It's like, who told you you're not supposed to be having this meeting? Who told you you're not allowed to say that stuff? They're the people standing behind you in most meetings, isn't it? And it's like they're standing behind him ready to grab him if he says something out of hand. And I don't see how that would work, but I mean, maybe they just, that'd be interesting if they just grabbed the president or smacked him or something like that. That would cause some issues, wouldn't it? There would all of a sudden be a real rebellion going on. Although no one would know what to rebel against, would they? Because you're not allowed to talk about this stuff. You're not allowed, like no one of my family's ever told me about this, but then they're going to question who some of my family are. Like, they told me the curly hair comes from perms, and, like this, the Native American, this and that. So I question, if they're just known liars who lie constantly and they're in your lives, then you have to understand they're probably lying to you about anything, and that would be like who you are. If you have like a family member who you suspect is one of them, then you should like assume it's one of them, because if you know enough to suspect it, then if you're educated enough on it, then you're probably like, right. It's like thinking there's a black person in your family. It's like, is there a black person in my family? Oh, how do I know? You're stupid. Why do you think there's a black person in your family? And they're lying about being black. Why do you think that? It's like, because it looks like a black African person. You don't get called stupid for that. You won't get called stupid for assuming that. But this other stuff, like, what is that? What's going on there? Why is that happening? Why do they hide in the shadows? And just how far they've been manipulating our lives and the world around us. And I mean, you can see, like, they're kings, like Jeffrey Epstein. How do they control the world? Well, they control it by having the presidents of the United States and other world leaders and famous actors who aren't them, because most of them are them. And they probably blackmail each other too, because it allows them to remain silent. It ensures they remain silent. If Charlie Sheen's on tape having sex with children, Charlie Sheen should never blurt out something about this and that, although he did one time. Of course, they all do like one time, and they probably get a little warning after that. And generally, people get a warning. Yeah, I mean, you can generally read about it, because they'll publish the warning openly in the newspaper and stuff, because they own the papers. They can do that, and no one seems to care when these threats come through, although they're often veiled. Like David Icke. David Icke got labeled anti-Semitic because he talks about reptiles controlling the world. It's like, well, how's that anti-Semitic? Maybe you're telling us something. Maybe you're telling us that he's saying something else, and he's not allowed to talk about that. Maybe that's what that's actually telling you. Maybe it's not actually saying he's an evil anti-Semite and you should hate him. Maybe they're actually telling you, when he's saying reptiles, he's saying something else, and he's not allowed to ever talk about that for whatever reason. Because Epstein probably has some member of his family on tape having sex with a child or something close, or his family members will get shot and killed. Although he looks like one of them, especially because he dyes his hair now and he straightens his hair now. In the past, he looked like one. So, you just gotta go.